السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. دكتور نضال الصالحي, Faculty of Business, University of Petra. Today we will continue with chapter 6, strategy formulation, situational analysis and business strategy. Last meeting we stopped here at this slide. This is the last slide was slide 11. We talked last meeting about situational analysis, which is the first part of this chapter. Today we will continue with the competitive strategies. As I told you last meeting, I just want to go back to the previous slide to remind you that we said last meeting, first of all, we are now discussing the business level strategy, okay, which is on the level of the middle management. And if you still remember, last meeting we said that there are two types of strategies, competitive strategies and cooperative strategies. Now we discussed the two cooperative strategies last meeting, and we stop here on this slide. Today we will discuss the competitive strategies, and we know that Porter has competitive strategies, okay, develop competitive strategies for us. Competitive strategy always start with raising the following question. You as a company ask yourself, do you want to compete on the basis of lower cost so that you can compete in terms of price, or do you want to differentiate yourself and to offer a high quality? Then you are competing in terms of quality. So you have two choices. This is the first question. The second question that you could ask yourself in order to decide for your competitive strategy, should the company compete on a wide market segment, head to head with major competitors, okay, with a wide market segment, I mean many markets, let's say wide market, or should we compete in terms of a niche? A niche, I told you that niche means small market. It means that you may, if you consider the niche, which is the focus strategy, then you are concentrating only on a certain segment or a certain geographical market areas. Now, based on those two questions, now we can say that Porters develop three competitive or three generic competitive strategies, as we can see here. The first strategy is cost leadership, and all of you know that if you are as a company, if you have a cost leadership strategy, then you are competing in terms of price. So cost leadership strategy, it's the ability of a company or business unit to design, produce and market a comparable product more efficient than its competitors. Now when we talk about cost leadership strategy, then we are talking about higher efficiency and less cost. That's why I can sell products with lower prices than my competitors if I consider the cost leadership strategy. But on the other hand, I can also, some companies, they consider or they take into consideration the differentiation strategy, or they depend on the differentiation strategy. And here it is the ability of the company to differentiate its product in terms of value and quality from the competitors. And here they are competing in terms of quality. Now, focus strategy, it's not really a strategy. It is focus strategy. It will take only the segment. It will take only into consideration the market targets. If the company will only provide its, let's say, product or services to a certain geographical area or a certain market or small markets only, then they are considering the focus strategy. It's either a focus with differentiation or a focus with lower cost. We will understand this further when we start now with the of course later on after this slide we will discuss the 4 strategies that could be derived from the 2 main generic strategies. Okay, now Porter proposed that a firm's competitive advantage, what is my competitive advantage? Either it's either it's a differentiation or a cost in an industry, is determined by its competitive scope. Okay, what's the meaning of competitive scope? It's the breadth of the company or the company's or business units target market. Now, the more target markets you have, the wider your scope is. So the scope will depend on the number of markets that you are serving, and the number of segments that you are serving, and the number of target markets that you are serving. The broader, okay, the more markets that you are serving with let's say with diversified products, with more products, the more or the wider your competitive scope is. Now let's start in details discussing the Porter's competitive strategies. The first strategy, number 1, is cost leadership. When we say cost leadership, that means that we as a company, we are trying to concentrate on lowering prices, in concentrating on making efficiency higher comparing to our competitors, in order to be able to compete in terms of prices. Okay, so providing the customers with products or services with lower prices than with a wide market segment. It means that you are not really taking a niche or a small markets or a certain geographical area. No, you have a wide market share. Then you are using with lower cost, of course, and more efficiency. Then you are using a cost leadership strategy. Now, what are the, let's say, the benefits or the advantages of a cost leadership strategy? It will provide the company with a defense against rivals, against competitors. When we say rivals, we mean competitors. A defense. Why? Because I'm surviving. I have a competitive advantage in terms of lower price. Then I can also sell. Okay. And my revenue will be also high. But if you will consider or take into consideration this strategy, your production should be massive. It means that you have to produce in high volumes of units. Why? In order to reduce the cost. As we all know, when you have a high production, a massive production, then your fixed cost will be less. Okay. Second, it will provide a barrier to entry. When you are massive, when you are using economies of scale, okay, and you have massive production, then this will prevent from adding more competitors or entering new competitors to the industry that you are in as a company. And you still remember in chapter 4, we discussed the factors that will increase the barriers to entry by potential competitors. Generates also increased market share. Okay, of course, because you are taking a wide market segment, because we are saying cost leadership. You are using cost leadership, but with a wide market, then you will increase, of course, your market share. High bargaining power relative to the suppliers of the company. Now, if you are using the cost or depending on the cost leadership strategy, then you will have a high bargaining power with your suppliers. Why? Because you buy from them raw material in a large lot sizes, in a large quantities. At the same time, it will also As a result, cost leaders are likely to earn above average return on investment. Okay, comparing to their competitors, if you are using cost leadership strategy, then of course the earning of the company, since it is as a result, of course, as a result of sales volume, you will sell more, then of course your earnings or your profit will be more. Now let's move to the second competitive strategy, which is differentiation. And when we speak of differentiation only, when we say differentiation strategy or differentiation advantage, we mean that here we are having a mass market, means we are competing in terms of quality, we are differentiating our product, okay, in terms of its quality and service compared to our competitors. At the same time, we are offering our products or services to a wide market segment also. Okay, if we take as an example Toyota, they are having a differentiation strategy, but with a wide market segment. I mean, it's not a focus strategy, because you know Toyota, they are their cars, they are exporting their cars all around the world, and they are taking into consideration all segments when it comes, for example, to income, because they have the Lexus, for example, which is a very expensive one and differentiated one, and all of their cars are differentiated, but also they are not only targeting class A of the customers, but they take all classes from A to C or D. Now, what are the benefits of differentiation strategy? It will lower customer sensitivity to price. Okay, I will not be sensitive if I will pay high prices. Why? Because the quality is high, because the product or service that I am paying for is differentiated. Second, it will increase buyer loyalty, also serve as an entry barrier. As we said a while ago, now the customer loyalty will increase if they are really loyal to some certain brands. Some people, for example, they will tell you that I am loyal to iPhone. The others will say, no, I am loyal to let's say Samsung, okay, and so on. Now this will also, as we said here, it will limit, okay, or it will reduce the risk of entry by potential competitors. Also, another benefit of differentiation strategy with a wide market segment, it can generate also higher profits, of course, because your product has a high quality, then you can sell it in higher price, then of course your profitability and profit growth will be higher. Lastly, or last benefit, increased cost can usually be passed on the buyer. Okay, producing higher quality will need more expenses, more cost, but this cost will be what? It will be transferred to your customers because you are selling with higher prices. Now the third strategy, it's the cost focus strategy, and we have the fourth one is the differentiation focus strategy. But these two are not new strategies. It is usually the same two strategies, differentiation and cost. But the previous two strategies we discuss cost leadership with wide market segment, differentiation strategy with wide market segment. Now we will use the same. Some companies, they have the cost advantage as a strategy, but with focus, means they are only focusing, as I told you a while ago, on a certain geographical market or a particular buyer groups or a niche. Okay, they will just concentrate or provide niche markets, small markets with their products or services. Now, a lot of them, they are doing that because sometimes you cannot really compete on, let's say, more segments. So you will select profitable segments and you will offer your products or service to some, let's say, provinces, some villages or whatever. and of course it will be profitable for you. But there is one advice here. If you are using or only offering your product for niches, small markets, you should have more than one niche. Why? Because niches will evaporate. Okay, if the giant will notice that you are serving a certain market area, then they might really think of it. Then you have to be ready with another niche. Differentiation focus is the same as we said. It's a differentiation focus, means that you are competing in terms of quality also. It's nothing new, but here you have only a narrow market segment. Okay, a narrow market segment. Again, you will compete in terms of quality, okay, or in terms of service, but you will concentrate also on certain segments or geographical markets, okay, not on a wide market. Now, at the end, there is one important issue in competitive strategies, which is the issue of this term. If you, as you can see, student, please concentrate. It's very easy. Stuck in the middle. Now, as a company, if you cannot attain a differentiation strategy, and at the same time you cannot attain also the cost strategy, okay, or the cost advantage, I mean to say that if you cannot compete in terms of price, and also you cannot compete in terms of quality, then you will be as a company stuck in the middle. And some books, they will say that you will be in the middle of the road. In the middle of the road يعني الواحد بيكون وسط الشارع، ده هو طايل الكوست ادفانتج ولا هو طايل a differentiation advantage, and at this time you will be stuck in the middle. That's why if we define what's the meaning of stuck in the middle as an issue in competitive strategies, it is when a company has no competitive advantage, يعني no either differentiation or a cost, and is doomed to be below average performance. And of course at this time your competitors will be ahead of you. And by the way, just to mention last thing, stuck in the middle, by the way, the Korean cars in the 1980s, when they start manufacturing cars, they were stuck in the middle between the German cars at that time, and the German cars at that time, they have the differentiation strategy, and the Japanese cars at that time they have cost leadership strategy. So that's why when the Koreans start manufacturing cars, they were stuck in the middle because they were not able to attain the differentiation strategy as a competitive strategy, and they were not able also to attain the competitive strategy of cost. Okay, that's why they were stuck in the middle between the Germans and the German cars and the Japanese cars. This end, and of course this end chapter 6. Next lecture, inshallah, we will start with chapter 7, which will be also strategy formulation, but we will discuss the strategy on the corporate level instead of the business level. We finished already the business level. We will discuss inshallah in chapter 7 the corporate level strategy under the stage of strategy formulation. inshallah أشوفكم كلكم بخير وسلامة. Thank you very much for you all.